What's up and welcome back to the Kind of Funny Screencast. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes and I'm joined by the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Good morning.
The Big Daddy, Greg Miller.
Dare me to do it, Nick. Dare me to staple myself. Don't do it. I do it. I'm crazy.
Damn it.
The producer / seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Be a real man and do it in your forehead, Greg. Just like Jamie Lee Curtis from Everywhere, Everything, All Together, all the time.
Spoilers, dude. Come on.
Spoilers.
What the fucking theater? Jesus.
And rounding out the group, we got the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
Bro, did you watch the movie? It was good, right? I like that.
You can watch our review of that movie over on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com, or just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny Screencast. You'll be able to listen to the Everything Everywhere All at Once review, the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 review, all the Moon Knight reviews galore, everybody. We also just did another one. What was it? Better Call Saul premiere.
Oh, yeah.
With Jake Baldino, Andy Cortez was on that, Roger as well. So go check it out. Whole bunch of great screencast content for your pleasure, including the Thor Love and Thunder trailer reaction. Nick, real quick, what'd you think? You had to miss that one.
Yeah, unfortunately I had to miss that one, but I was watching in a hotel in Scottsdale visiting some family, and had to watch it 3 times. The banger, this trend right now of subtly working your way into 80s songs in these trailers gets my seal of approval. Sweet Child of Mine was an inspired choice. The trailer was phenomenal. And then just seeing Natalie Portman jacked out of her gourd at the end of it was just super cool. Great trailer. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, everybody. 10 out of 10. Of course, you can also watch this show live as we record it and get it ad-free by going to patreon.com/kindafunny, just like our Patreon producers, Molecule, Fargo Brady, Pranksy, and Anonymous have done. Today, we're brought to you by Credit Karma, but I'll tell you all about that later. Andy Cortez, I want to talk about episode 4 of Moon Knight, The Tomb. What did you think?
Loved this episode. I feel like it was a return to form with kind of hitting all the different beats for me. I think it was suspenseful. I think it was funny at times. It was expository at times. Is that a word? Did I just make that up? Yeah, I think it just kind of like hit all these little areas that I was looking to get some form of entertainment from. I feel like my love for this series has been kind of dwindling over the last several episodes, but this episode I feel like had it all, and I was very Uncharted, sort of Indiana Jones-like in some areas, and then we get this big twist, and I have no idea what the hell's going on, but I love it.
Nick Scarpino.
I'm kind of the opposite of Andy. Unfortunately, this show's still kind of declining for me. I was a little bit bored for about 75% of it, and then we get to the ending, and then I was like, oh, this is something interesting that I'm kind of back in for, to see where this kind of goes. And I wish the show had gone there a little bit earlier and kind of tested you with those whether or not reality was real and whatnot. But I didn't think the stuff at the beginning of the episode was all that compelling. Unfortunately, so hopefully that it picks up from here.
Kevin Coelho.
I'm somewhere between Nick and Andy, where it's like the beginning of the episode, I was like, yeah, this is, kind of whatever. And then it kind of won me over, and it just like, I had a moment where I was like, this reminds me a lot of The Mummy. And like, I'm digging it. You know what I mean? Look at these, with the zombie guys. I was like, this is, it's got my attention.
That freaked me out. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect.
Scary. I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we had the scene where everything gets thrown on its head, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I mean, I have an idea of what's going on, but I'm very invested all of a sudden.
Greg Miller.
I'm right there, 2 peas in a pod with Nick. I think the final 15 minutes of this, I was like, holy shit, this is great. This is really cool. I don't know what's happening. I like this a lot. And then that first 75%, I was very much like, okay, like, this just isn't working for me. It did remind me of The Mummy. It did remind me of Indiana Jones and all the things. But I thought it paled in comparison to what those had done. And so to go through it and then try to hinge it again on this Layla Steven relationship, like, I just don't think they have chemistry. So for them to get to this, like, won't they kiss thing? I'm like, I don't really care. Yeah, and I like the Mark Steven play on it. Like, I like, Oscar being able to work against himself, right? And be like, don't do blah, blah, blah. And then I thought it was, it speaks to the character of Steven that when she was finally about to kiss him, he's like, yeah, actually he didn't mean to fuck this up, right? But then like again, Ethan Hawke killing it out there. But the reveal that like, yeah, you know, Mark was there for the death of her father. Like, all right, but he didn't really do it. All right, like I don't know who her father was. I don't like your relationship. Like none of this is working for me in terms of being intriguing for me. But then, yeah, I think it was really cool to see the world shift onto its axis there. And like, as it was happening, I was like so into it. I was like, fuck, it would be awesome if it turned out that, yeah, this had all been in his head, but I know it's not about to be that. I know this is some kind of MacGuffin weird thing we're going to go through. And then, you know, we got to that. And then a talking hippo showed up. And I was like, cool.
I thought this episode was fantastic, and I think it's really bringing all the show together. I feel like the last couple episodes have just been doing a really good job of kind of setting the stage and the characters and the vibe for where we're going with this. And I love that this episode delivered, not with just a cliffhanger of what's going to happen next week, but like giving us that 15, 20 minutes, whatever, at the end of like dealing with is this real? Is this a dream? What's going on? And I like that they, in my opinion, kind of delivered the multiple levels of twists where I'm so happy it wasn't the whole show so far wasn't fake. Like I like that it all actually happened, because I thought that would have been such a cop out. But I think that it was a wise call for them to make that reveal in this episode, not make us wait longer to see where it's going. Really weird, interesting stuff. Like there's definitely the third personality now we see in the sarcophagus, so we're gonna get that. I love that we have 2 full episodes left. These being really kind of meaty 52-minute episodes means we have an hour 40 minutes left of the story, and I think that they're in a interesting place to be able to move on from this kind of Indiana Jones, Uncharted-y, tomb raiding stuff that we've had the last 2 episodes. And you know, so far the show's worked in kind of 2-episode arcs, and I'm really excited to have the final arc be moving on from all this stuff, like really getting into the Ethan Hawke, like what exactly is going on, dealing with the relationships between Mark, Steven, Layla, the father, all that stuff. I think that every episode's just adding a little bit more backstory and a little bit more context to it all. And the fact that there is a third personality that connects all of it somehow, I think is a very intriguing prospect. And I think that the show has proven to me that like it's crafted in a way where you're supposed to be asking questions. You're not supposed to know everything going on. And if things feel weird, they'll explain it later in a way that all of a sudden makes sense again. I love being in the institution and kind of like seeing all the characters we've seen before, like elements and the painting of the grassy, the field or whatever that we saw from episode 2, the cupcake and like from the cupcake truck, the goldfish, like all the characters, including
I love when
like,
he fell and he had the Moon Knight toy.
Yeah, and the toy's really cool. Obviously the when it cuts to the old 80s, 70s, whatever the hell it is, Indiana Jones looking movie that he's watching. Like I thought all that stuff was really cool. And on top of that, the first 40 minutes of this, again, the whole adventuring and tomb stuff isn't usually my favorite genre. And I think that this did a serviceable job at it, not my favorite, but I did enjoy the horror elements that we rarely get in the MCU, and I think that in this episode, especially with Layla kind of getting grabbed with that jump scare, and keep continually getting pulled in to all that. I like that they're making Layla a capable character, and I think that it was a really smart call to have the majority of this episode be a Mark and Steven depowered, not having the ability to turn into Moon Knight. I feel like it gave it a little bit more stakes. And so when he gets shot, like I didn't expect that. I think it's an interesting place to end the current storyline so far of what we know to be reality, with having him getting shot and falling into this water without Khonshu able to help him. So very interested where they're going for this. And
I was pretty. This is one of the first episodes that I've watched on my TV. I've normally been watching them on my PC, so it's always like not the best quality. But something about shooting on location here. This didn't feel like it was being shot in the volume, and if it was, fantastic job, because some of those shots in the desert just were missing to me that sort of crappy green screen feel. Like I feel like this is one of the better shot episodes. And that could just be because I'm seeing it in much better quality now on my big TV in 4K and everything like that. But I feel like this episode was just shot a bit more. This episode felt a bit more professional looking, all the way until we get to that final sequence where, I don't know, just something about the quality of it felt like it was a big jump up and we didn't get any crappy green screen sort of sequences.
See, I agree with you. When they were outside, there's a couple shots, the truck driving through when Layla and Steven are heading toward the tomb that I thought looked really, really good. But then we get inside the tomb and they have two scenes back to back that are these supposed to be like these sort of bonding moments between the characters. And they're just poor Oscar Isaac and the other actor have to sit there and act like they're wowed by this tomb that's like the size of the room that I'm in. And then they just keep walking and they stop and have another scene down like 15 feet into this room. And you're like, this, you could tell that if they had the production budget for it, they would have dropped into something that was like cavernous. And they would have been like looking around, trying to look at, like to disagree with you for a little bit on that this vibed with the other movies like Indiana Jones and what was the
Mummy.
Mummy. Those movies had a sense of scope that this just
Scale.
does not, a scale and scope that this just does not. Right, when they're walking down the hallways, you see a long hallway, and then when they get into the room where they eventually fight the mummies, I mean it is huge, and so that's what you sort of expect when you see these things, and instead we get two smaller rooms followed by another set piece that I did like, which was the sort of gorge where she has to kind of climb around it. We know she's a mountain climber. We know she has that ability, and I did like that stuff where the hand was coming out and all that. I just wish we had more of that in this. But it was just a weird scene to me because the way it was set up was we get this touching moment where they're talking at the top of the thing, and it's kind of, I think maybe supposed to be sexy. I don't know, because she's adjusting the belt on his pant, like she's adjusting the belay. And then they go down and they have another touching moment where she tells him about his father. And then another one. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of the B story of this father character. And then we get into the actual like scary part of it, which I thought that's when the episode started to pick up for me. But it's weird because you're supposed to have this sense of like, there's two dangers in this tomb. One of which is these scary guardians of the sarcophagus that are supposed to be running around that are actually like alive right now, and then you have this merc squad that's getting killed one by one. But then we see the merc squad, you're like, oh, I guess they're just been out there the whole time, and in one of these four rooms that these people are in. It just needed a bigger scale of scope, and I wanted like more of those mummy characters to run. I was expecting like 6 more of them to be around because you saw the tombs, and when she murked the first one, you're like, oh, I guess they're not a threat anymore. And then we get that weird scene where she's like, no, you're gonna tell me about my dad right now, and that makes me hate that character because I'm like, you guys, that there's a mercenary squad of 20 guys with guns that are
Also
about to
zombies.
burst through this door, and zombies. Why are we stopping to talk about this right now? Do you really, really, really like that's the most important thing to you right now at this time? Not escaping the mortal danger that you're in? I don't know. The whole thing just felt totally weird.
I do think that there was a big mistake with the like zombie mummy people that because like they've killed a bunch of people, right? That we see like the people have been like their guts. People, we see one dude being thrown on there, and those guys have guns, and so I'm a little confused on how Layla was able to fight them off because I feel like they were setting them up as like, all right, these are major threats that like unless he gets his suit back,
Right.
you're fucked. And then he
Right.
grabs her, and she is able to escape and rip off his arm. So yeah, that's one thing that kind of left me feeling a little ugly, like where it just didn't make sense. But that being said, the thing at the end of him being in this hospital is really intriguing. And I mean, I think that it's a red herring, but it still was really cool and gave you a minute of like, oh my God, are they really gonna reset everything and just be like, just kidding, this has been his fantasy. It's
was a
kind of too
moment-
bad.
Go for it.
I was gonna say it's kind of too bad that it's already been revealed with the hippo at the end that like it's not real. I kind of wish they held that for the next scene.
Well, once he started talking to himself, right? That's when I was like, okay, yeah, they were definitely.
Oh, I guess you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
But there was a moment where I thought they were doing it was all a dream type shit before we saw him talking to himself and all that,
Yeah.
where they were talking about the production value. And I was just like, are they trying to play off that the reason the production value of the show wasn't that great at the beginning was this? 'Cause when I saw the painting of the town, I was like, oh my God, that's really clever. But towards the end of it, it's like, no, that's not what it is. But yeah, it's interesting to me how much they're focusing on Steven still. I expected it to kind of shift over to Mark and kind of have him be the main character by now. And the fact that they're not, it's weird because like we were talking about last week, like we're so much more attached to Steven and kind of rooting for Steven. And Mark just kind of seems to be like getting in the way. And I'm just surprised that even on episode 4, this late into the series, they're still having Steven kind of be the one that we're rooting for more and like
Mhm.
not really caring about Mark and not getting too much of his backstory. And I'm sure that's all to come, but I just think that's an interesting call for them, especially knowing there's a third personality around the corner. But before we
Wha-
continue, let me tell you
go
about
ahead.
our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Credit Karma. Are you earning credit card rewards? Credit Karma can help you compare your reward options so you can find a card that fits your lifestyle, helping you earn miles or cash back for spending you're gonna do anyway. I've been using Credit Karma for years. It's such an easy way to just keep track of my credit score and make sure that everything is going fantastically with so many great features. Credit Karma uses your credit profile to show you offers that are tailored to your financial situation. Credit Karma partners with a wide range of card issuers so you can be sure that you're exploring all sorts of options. Comparing cards on Credit Karma is 100% free and it won't affect your credit score. And best of all, Credit Karma uses your credit data to show you your chances of approval before you even apply, helping you apply with more confidence. That is an awesome feature. Credit Karma, create your own karma. Ready to find the card for you? Head to Credit Karma and check out your personalized mix of offers today. Go to creditkarma.com or the Credit Karma app to find the card for you. That's creditkarma.com. Go for it, Kev.
Sorry. So this new personality that we've been told about, do we think there's any chance that he actually is the person that killed her father? Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
the only thing I know about the Moon Knight is he has like a friend, mercenary friend that like went bad and is the reason why he almost died. So I'm wondering if they're setting that up to be a red herring, or if they are going to introduce that character, or if that character is just going to be the third personality. I'm very curious where that's going, and I'm kind of stoked for that. So I hope they don't drop
Yeah, I
the
think
ball.
that's really interesting. And I also think it's interesting how much they're pushing Layla in this direction and the idea of these avatars and all of that. Like,
Yeah.
who is are we going to see Ethan Hawke as Moon Knight, like a flashback of that? Like, that could be
That'd be cool.
interesting. And like the idea of, I feel like they're purposefully not really talking about who the avatar is of Khonshu of Amit. Sorry, that's what I was thinking. And just crazy
But
theory I'm putting out there is, and this I don't think the show's going to tie in this much, but like the first avatar of Amit could have been Ramatut, which is Kang, and that could be some really cool way to attach all the mythology that they're building here to the MCU that we know so far.
didn't they like pretty much state that the last avatar of Amit was Alexander the Great?
Alexander the Great. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was what.
So
Last, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
what I'm confused on the importance of like the first.
Well, I'm just saying a prior one.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
like, because we know that these people have had different
Yeah.
avatars, like with Ethan Hawke and then now Mark.
something that I feel like I've been thinking about recently is how is Ethan Hawke's character speaking to Amit? Because she's locked in the little statue, right? So who's
I don't think he's ever. Does he ever directly communicate with her?
Well, I mean, he
about it?
uses her strength, right?
But
is
he
that
remember
just-
she gave him that strength.
But how? If she's been locked in the little statue and
FedEx.
unreachable, you know what I mean?
FedEx. There you
Yeah.
go.
Good question. That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I don't. What was my other question was what was with all the other little statues? Did they just lock all the gods in those little statues at the beginning?
Yeah.
One god's taken over, right? That's what I was thinking.
Is
Yeah.
that what it was?
Well, no, because we know that the High Council or whatever is still there, right?
I mean, we think we do.
Unless
I'm
you
sure
lock
they
all
think
of them
they
in those
do.
little statues. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's one god who's slowly trying to play this game of chess to take
Well,
over.
so-
And
I guess
Right.
that's what I'm kind of like. It feels like maybe Horus is actually, or I don't know. I don't know that it was Horus. I don't know why I said that. But like the guy who ends up walking Ethan Hawke out at the end of last episode, whatever god that was, he must be in charge and directing Ethan Hawke, right?
Potentially. So you think there's a conspiracy there where that one god is actually helping him?
I mean, I feel like that's what the end of the episode implied
We're-
last time.
Interesting.
Were all of the people in the hospital like prior avatars? Do we know who they were?
All the people in the hospital were the townsfolk, and it was
Yeah,
like
the people that he
the
encountered.
gold
he's
statue
seen.
guy that he talked to.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so
I didn't
they were
recognize her
trying
face.
to-
I was wondering if he was just like one of many in this place of like all these different avatars that have died, or something like that.
No,
Yeah, to me-
Layla was in there too, so that would.
Oh,
make sense.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I figured like maybe she's in there because she's the next target that we keep on getting warned by.
Sure.
No, I think they were trying to Kaiser Soze it, where every
Mm-hmm.
single person was an element that you've seen already, and really trying to trick you into thinking like, oh, this really is happening all in his head. This is something that he is, delusional about. Which I'm not convinced at the end of the episode it's still not. I know there's a talking hippo, and you guys say he talks to Steven, so that's proof. But like, wouldn't he be talking to Steven anyway if he was having a psychotic breakdown?
But I mean,
Like,
the
wouldn't
two
all this-
physical ones in the
Yeah.
space together,
So
where they
what?
can physically
Like, he-
interact.
Him and
So
his
you
twin.
mean he's psychotic? Like, what is it?
Oh, you think that might be a delusion?
is-
Like, and,
well, I mean,
and-
this
So you
is-
think
this
even
is-
when you think the world tilting a little bit is all just in his head?
Yeah, I mean, this is always,
could be.
This
You're
is
not- I
always
mean-
the problem with where you start breaking into stuff like this is the issue you always have with the Matrix, where like what's real, what's not real, or like at a certain point to the viewer, it's you could anything could be just fake, right? I mean, all this stuff is make believe anyway, so you could just tell the viewer and all this stuff's still in his head. I do think that they're angling toward this as something, he is caught in something like some sort of limbo or something like that right now.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, like, when he gets to because at first I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't in his head. Then when he gets to the hippo that talks, I'm like, oh, maybe he's had a full psychotic.
I mean, the
break.
hippo that talks is a god, right? Like it's dressed like it's one of the other gods that I assume is imprisoned in whatever this god's prison is. Yes, I'm sorry, Timmy.
Yeah, I'm not up on my Egyptian gods, but is that hippo one of the ones that he was complaining about missing in episode 1? Because remember, he was just like, "Oh,
maybe.
this poster's missing some of the gods." Like that has to come back somehow, and I don't know who the gods are and which ones
That
would
is
be missing.
this is
Towerette.
Towerette.
So I think that's interesting, and I also think it's interesting that they had Layla's character in the institution. The way that she acted, like I feel like there has to be like some meaning to that of her kind of like taking the win from him with the bingo thing, and that seems like
Mhm.
at least in this version of the world that happens before. So I wonder what that is going to have, what implications that's going to have, like in the quote unquote real world. Andy,
According to Games Radar, everybody, Towerette is an Egyptian god of fertility and childbirth. As in Moon Knight, she's depicted with the appearance of a hippo, but with lion's arms and paws and a crocodile, blah, blah, blah. Her epithets include Lady of Heaven, Mistress of Pure Water, She Who Removes Water, Mistress of the Horizon, blah, 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 blah. I'm just scrolling through looking for more important things.
Oh.
Along with life, the god has an association with death. She used her powers to help make the dead make their way safely to the afterlife through the dangerous mountains of the West.
well, there you go.
Yeah, that's really cool. I wonder if she's the one that's friends with him when we met like that high council. And remember, a woman walked over and was like, "Oh yeah, we used to be
Gave him
friends."
the advice.
Yeah. So I
It's
wonder
played by
if-
a different character. Played by a different character, though, voiced.
Oh, okay.
This is
But that's-
voiced by Antonia Salib, who's not the same character we saw in that tomb with him.
That's interesting though, because then like if she's kind of the guardian that helps you transfer
Move
from
past,
life
yeah.
to death, it's like that's what's happening to him then.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
got shot and he's dying, and this is
Oh,
afterlife. So I wonder
But
if
it-
he's
it's
like
not the
in a
afterlife.
vehicle of some sort with the thing with like the way that it's moving. Because we saw that like before with them in the truck. Like what if they're like on a boat or a plane or something?
Well, I think-
Real quick, abstract Kevin. The god is also part of the Ennead, which we've already seen some of these deities gathering through their avatars in Moon Knight episode 3, but Towerette was absent. If the Ennead returns for future Moon Knight episodes, we can expect her to potentially be a part of the lineup.
Interesting.
So she was like one of the few that wasn't there in that initial grouping, in that
Yeah.
sort of council session.
I'd imagine the tipping over thing is just happening underwater, right? Because he fell. Like we don't know how deep the thing is that he fell. I guess we assume it's not that deep.
Yeah, it was like a little bit of a pond, but I mean, I
Yeah,
do
you're
think
right.
yeah, there's something maybe they're on transit. I mean, this is cool, right? It's like the so you're saying she's the god that sort of like ferries people from the mortal life to the afterlife, like a boat, like the boatman from
I feel like it's
Greek
Hades.
mythology. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. It's a cool concept. I mean, this, like I said before, and I think Greg would agree that this is where the show kind of picked back up for me, where I'm like, oh, you're asking now. These are some very interesting questions, and we're touching on stuff that I haven't seen before in the MCU. So I'm excited to see where this hippo goes. My first thought is bring the hippo in as a third sidekick. That'd be super fun.
Oh man!
I
yeah.
don't.
Voiced
I'm
by Taika Waititi.
Exactly. Yeah, Korg. God, the fact that Korg is going to be
It's just such a main
sidekick.
character.
Come on, son. Anyway, sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys about that. But yeah, I'm curious to see how they're going to work the third personality into this all as well, because there's a lot of personalities in this already. There's a lot of characters in this already for Mark and Steven to bounce off of. So it'll be interesting to see how they wrap that up in the next episode.
2 episodes.
2 more episodes.
Yeah,
What
which
did
is
I
cool.
always think this is the last. Every time we're on an episode, I'm like, last episode ever. Like, no, Nick, 2 more.
See you
Yeah.
later, Nick.
Definitely excited to rewatch this one because like there's definitely a lot going on, and I want to know going in like where it's going, because like last night I was like totally just like holy shit, like what's going on with this end bit. But I do like I rewatched the first episode a couple days ago, and it's like going back to it and seeing all the blackouts that we have, and like with the idea that it might not have been Mark, it might be this third thing. Like I think the show's doing a really good job of kind of like setting up a path, but then like leaving holes in the path, leading you to believe that those holes have been filled, and then revealing they're not. So with all of this ending with the whole potential of what we're talking about, this like him dying or whatever, like he has to get Khonshu back, right? Like even on the previously on, this episode started with like Khonshu being like, yo, come find me, like get me. So that's really cool that wherever they're ending this episode, like we know then the next 2, like it's going to be about him trying to get it back. But is it the third personality that actually gets it back? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. So
Well, and also like
Is
at
it a
some
wig?
point, right? We don't know. At some point, Amit's going to have to come back to life, right? He's going to have to fight that god, right? Like, do we think that's where this whole thing's headed?
probably
It'd be very
right.
disappointing if it wasn't. It would also be very disappointing if the third personality was the one that killed her father, because I feel like that's just still, in my opinion, that would be like, it's still unforgivable, right? I know one of your personalities is not the same as the other personality for people who are suffering from that, but still, it'd be hard to rectify. Be like, well, someone in there killed my dad, and they might come out at any time.
I mean, the more interesting thread we haven't tugged on from that, right, is when he reveals that he came to look for her based on that, right? And she's like, "Oh my God, we only fell in love because of you were feeling pity for me or whatever." Like, I think that's interesting.
Yeah, that is a pretty neat sort of through line that we could explore more.
I also don't think that like I could see this show not ending in a happy place for Mark, Steven, and the bunch.
I wasn't. I also, Kevin, I wasn't expecting what to see, because I know this episode has been kind of hyped up in a way, right? A lot of the reviewers who watched episodes 1 through 4 beforehand said, like, wait till you get to episode 4. This is the one that really kind of just does some wacky shit, and you'll never be able to predict it. And it definitely did that for me, because I had no idea what was happening. I thought, are we about to see Blade? I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. I wasn't sure exactly what was going to happen. One thing I did want to point out, though, and this is an apology to Tim. All right.
Thank you. Maybe here it comes, everybody. That's what we've been waiting for.
And maybe to Greg as well. And maybe to Nick. Sure, maybe
one.
Nick.
Oh, come on, leave Nick out of it.
All right, just Greg.
Thank you.
No.
I rewatched WandaVision recently.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's as good as we ranked it. So I'd like to
good. I'm
I'd
glad.
like
There
to
it is.
apologize.
There it
I
is.
think at the moment I was just wrapped up in, goddamn, who's this Ralph Boner kid? This fucking
Yeah.
That was
bullshit.
a tough moment. That was a tough
But
moment.
upsetting for all of
rewatching
us.
it, like even that
Ralph
episode, that
Boner.
final episode isn't the best, granted, but god dang, just all the way through the way, it's just a really god. And I'm watching Loki right now. What an even better show. God
I
dang,
love you,
these
Eddie.
shows are
This
good,
makes me
dude.
so happy. Makes me so
Holy
happy to
cow,
say
dude.
it is interesting now that there is a pattern that episode 4 of these shows seem to be the like, oh fuck, twist everything on its head, right? Episode 4 WandaVision was when they revealed the breaking out of the hex. Episode 4 of Loki was when it was Loki and Sylvie together doing all that stuff. Episode 4 of What If was Doctor Strange episode, which was like, I think far and away the best episode of that show, most interesting. And then this episode 4 of Moon Knight and episode 4 of Falcon and Winter Soldier was the one we got US Agent with the shield like fucking killing me.
Oh,
So,
right.
That's a big moment.
yeah.
I will say regarding What If, still no
What
plans on
if?
rewatching it. Terrible show.
Yeah, it's not
Damn,
good.
all right.
any closing thoughts, everybody?
I mean, 2 more episodes left. We'll see if they can kind of make this one of the middle of the pack shows, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. Like, will this? I don't think it will hit top tier level by any means, unless they do some wild, really inventive stuff near the end of it. But right now, I'm just like, where can this possibly end up on the ranking list? Because I feel like it's going to pick up in momentum, but I think that it was just weak enough in the beginning half to maybe lose a lot of us.
Yeah, I mean,
mine
my thing is, as we hurdle towards the end here, I've never been less interested in a Marvel show. Like, I'm just like,
Damn, and you watched What If? That's crazy.
What If? And Agent Carter.
How dare you guys with the what if hate? That show is
It
not
wasn't
as
good.
bad
It
as you
wasn't
thought. It was
good.
very
It was
creative
really
and
good.
fun. You guys are dead
It's
inside.
for simple
You're like,
people.
It just
I
wasn't
won't.
required viewing. I enjoyed
you're
What
all
If for
just
what it
like
was, but it wasn't required viewing.
turning up your mustaches, putting your monocles on, and sitting on your thrones over there, trying to be all high art. Come on, come down to my level.
Andy,
occasionally.
get a sense of humor, man. The Thor episode's funny. No, dude, Thor Ragnarok is funny. I don't know what the fuck that episode was.
Well, that episode was pretty bad.
Let us know in the comments below what you think of Moon Knight episode 4 and what your theories are for episode 5 and 6. We'll be back next week with episode 5. And also next week, if I'm doing my math right, it is going to be our Doctor Strange rewatch leading into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness over on In Review. So go check that out. But until then, I love you all. Goodbye.